Well, I want to I want to move on from high school because you said you had an interesting first job out of high school, and I would love to hear about it.
My first job, I was still living in Central Oregon, and it was a summer job before I went to my freshman year at college, and it was my friend's dad owned a gas station, which was not a truck stop, but it was like a gas station that had a mini mart in it,
like a Sheetz or a Wawa.
I don't know what those are.
Better AM PMs.
Yeah, I mean, this was like a Shell station, but it had, a little market inside, and it had a little deli food area. And they hired me there, and I worked in the deli. And at that point, it was Chinese food.
First of all, how can you even call yourself a deli?
That's what I was just
How can you even call yourself a deli?
Well, because you guys are
Did you have like a meat slicer?
Just Chinese food at the deli.
So I guess in the Northwest we use the word deli differently, I think.
Clearly.
Because like
the Chinese did.
in where you guys are from,
New Delhi.
Like there's all these little markets that sell boar's head sandwiches, and shit like that.
Made or MTO sandwiches.
Yeah, and then there's also like real, like Cat's Deli and that type of like real big things with lots of bravado. To me,
Is that the definition?
I don't know.
Yeah.
In Central Oregon, a deli was like a gas station. They said, "Oh, we got a deli," and it was like fried corn dogs and pizza pockets and burritos.
Got it.
And jalapeno poppers. It was like a place that...
Not deli menu.
No.
I love it. Right.
But it was like a hot case with just like tons of fried food in it, chicken strips. And
Like a 7-Eleven now.
yeah, but like on a grander
But better,
scale.
yeah.
So this place still had one of those. It had, like whatever, all this frozen fried shit. And then the other case was all Chinese food, like pre-cooked Chinese food, like a Panda Express or something. And you could, you get like, I'll have a 3-item combo with half chow mein, half rice.
Give me some chicken teriyaki, some orange chicken, and some pizza pockets.
Totally. And fucking dudes would come in. And the story behind it.
And fill it up on 18.
No, seriously, yeah. It was like dudes would come in and buy their packs of cigarettes for the day and then just get, some egg rolls and shit. But the story behind it was the owner, I won't name any names for this one.
That's fine.
But the owner had hired this guy to start the Chinese food stuff there, and was promised him a bunch of
Was it a Chinese guy?
Yes. So he was like, you'll run it within my thing, but I will pay you profits. I'll give you a cut of the profits rather than just paying you, and it'll be like your business inside of my business. And this is all what I heard.
Sure.
Maybe this isn't true. And then he kind of screwed the guy over.
Who did?
The owner screwed the Chinese cook over and wasn't doing that. So then the Chinese cook said, "Oh yeah, well I'm going to go across the street and open up my own Chinese restaurant," and he did.
Did he?
And then
No gas, though.
Became Panda Express, man.
you can't get gas there. And then the guy that trained underneath the original chef was a Mexican guy.
Chef now. We got a chef. Mexican Chinese food at a deli.
So he was a Mexican guy, and his name was Miguel. I'll name that name because I could.
You're racist.
Could be making that one up. And he just ran the same business. It didn't have to pay him any type of cuts of the profit or anything. And that's when I worked there. Was like the Chinese chef Miguel,
The second regime.
was there, and my job. I worked with. I was a big black lady that would like rub my shoulders all the time.
That's what you say. Every time somebody works in a kitchen or
Restaurant,
around
yeah,
food,
they just
massaging.
how people
Jay
get.
swears it.
And one of my duties was I had a digital timer that I would set for every 5 or 10 minutes. I can't remember. And when it would go off, I would have to stir all of the Chinese food so it didn't form a skin.
Mm-hmm.
And the handles of the spoons were plastic, and they would get super hot. And we had to wear new rubber gloves for every transaction, and it would just like the heat would like hold in the rubber gloves and just like burn your hands. It was a cool job.
I gotta. How great was the place across the street?
That's what I want to know. How good was
I don't
his
think
business?
I ever went there. I never got off work and was like, I need some Chinese food.
That's a huge fuck you, though, man. Right across
But
the street.
he didn't drive the gas station out of business?
No. He was just like, I want to have a Chinese food business, and I thought this was my way of doing it. But you know what? I'll just go do it over here. And then, I mean, the world of this gas station it was crazier because the owner was, he was my friend's dad and very eccentric and weird. And he,
You think
In
you
what
serve
ways?
Chinese food at a
Like
gas
that stuff?
station, right?
and he had turned.
Come on, man.
He turned the walk-in cooler. So there was like a walk-in cooler where you could go in and
Where things are always frozen?
Right.
it's frozen.
Where your
But
uncle's making
for
sandwiches.
It was for the customers where they have cases of beer.
Yeah.
So they had like the walls of glass doors, but they
Yeah.
also had
See,
like a
I
walk-in.
love that.
I know that, yeah.
I love when I go back to Baltimore and I go in a liquor store and I go back to the back of the store and there's no way out of that room. It's just a freezer and you open it up and you go in and people are always like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to get a cold case of beer right now.
Yeah.
I love that you can go in those. I love,
Yeah.
they're a little tight.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
So, but they had done for this was they took paper mache and they built it to look like a cave. So the entrance to the walk-in cooler was this big cave entrance, and on the inside there was stalagmites and stalactites. And he even put, for some reason, this is when Castaway was popular.
Mm-hmm.
He put one of those volleyballs in there.
Wilson was in there.
Why does that even make
Just to
any
go in
sense?
and get it.
And then he called it the beer cave, and it said bear, and the bear was crossed out, and he bought a taxidermied bear,
Come on.
and he put it by the entrance.
Dude, this guy is a forward thinker.
$45,000 entrance.
He put it by the entrance, and he put a Hawaiian shirt, sunglasses, and a fishing pole, and a case of beer under its arm.
Hilarious.
And it was the beer cave. And one of my jobs was when he it was a friend of mine's younger brother.
Change his outfits.
No.
Once a week. Randy, change that outfit, man.
Bring one of your outfits in. You're the only one that's the size of a bear. It was one of my friend's younger brothers that did the bear. It was like his first taxidermy project.
I'm wondering how much the bear set him back. It can't
Yeah.
be cheap to buy a taxidermy
No,
bear.
probably
I'm thinking 10 bills.
They had that kid from the murder shoot the bear.
Oh,
you know.
brother. But I remember he didn't have the bear yet, and he wanted to put the bear standing on a big rock. So he was like, "We need a big rock. Have you seen any big rocks?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And he's like, "I think I saw one." One of the other businesses that he ran out of the gas station was like he would rent Ryder trucks, like U-Haul trucks.
Off the same property?
Yeah, so he had a
Got it.
counter inside the same business that would rent Ryder trucks. So he just took one of the Ryder trucks. He's like, "Come with me. Take off, your apron and your uniform shirt.
Bring the gloves, man.
I don't want people to know that you work here,
Right,
because we're gonna go steal a rock."
Right.
And we just like drove up this like country road until he saw a big
Meanwhile,
rock.
he's in like Larry's gas station pickup truck the whole way.
and pulled over and was like, "Go get that rock." He didn't know if it was legal. We were just stealing a big rock. So I had to.
Couldn't you ask your dad if it was legal?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
could've.
would have definitely known.
No, he's not a rock guy. He's a tree guy.
Yeah.
And so I had to carry this giant rock and throw it in the back of a Ryder truck, and then he drove it back to the station. And then my job for the rest of the day was to wash the rock. Like he gave me this wire.
What was on it? Like moss?
So it was covered in dirt, but he wanted to paint it gray, the color of a rock. And I was like, "It's already,
Yeah.
it's a rock." But he didn't want the dirt on there because he needed to paint it. So I spent like 2 hours with like a wire brush on the end of a stick,
Come on.
sitting in a parking
Scrubbing a
lot
rock.
with a hose, sitting on the ground, washing a giant rock, and dudes would drive by.
Yeah, like,
and,
Where'd you get that rock, man?
cool rock, dude. They would make fun of me.
How big was it?
It was like 3 feet by 3 feet. It was a big rock.
I mean, were you like struggling to lift that thing?
Yeah, it was
That
big.
is big.
Like Central Oregon is like
It's a small boulder.
yeah, it wasn't as tall maybe as it was 3 feet by less than 3 feet, but it was like a lava rock, so it was very flat. In Central Oregon, it's a volcanic area,
Got it.
so it was this big flat rock that I had to wash all day.
This guy misses calling. This guy should have worked for like Disney or something, like
Yeah.
coming up with rides and stuff.
Well, this guy, I mean, I haven't even gotten to the best part. This guy, he would get very obsessed with things kind of month by month. And while I worked there, it was mannequins. He was really into buying mannequins and dressing them up like they worked there.
Behind the counter.
He'd put them around the corner and you'd get all freaked out.
Do you know that My wife makes fun of me all the time because there's this car dealership off the 101. Have you seen it where they have the mannequins looking at cars?
So scary.
I think it's hilarious.
So weird, but that's what he would do. And before I started working there, he was really into, for some reason, fixing up Model Ts. But like, he wasn't a car guy. Like he had some car that he would put the key in, he would break the key off, and then he would never have to have a key again because he can just walk in and turn it on. He wasn't a car guy, but yet he figured out like a cheap way to fix up these old Model Ts. So he had them all over the parking lot with mannequins in them. At one point, he put like a lady mannequin's leg like hanging out at the back until his son had to be like, I don't think that's I don't know, Dad.
His son had to tell.
And one thing,
You have the back of the truck, the Model T.
yeah, like a guy had like bagged a chick or something.
Yeah.
And then another thing that he wanted to do that his son had to be like, what? Was he had this baby mannequin and he wanted to cover it in blood and put it in the trash can in the bathroom.
What?
Like as a
Oh,
prank.
my God.
But he was like, you're going to get in trouble.
Not only are you going to get in trouble, and no one's ever coming back to this place.
And also this guy was like a guy who was like, a Christian. And like at one point.
Sounds like.
Like when I was like when I was a little bit younger, he like yelled at me one time. We were all playing on the trampoline. I didn't know any adults were outside, and I cussed. I said a bad word.
Do you remember what you said?
I said the F word, but it was as a joke or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of those jokes where you're like, hey, watch your fucking mouth.
Right.
You know, where you're like, yeah, you get it. And he happened to be out like on the deck and was like, like he was like, we don't swear in this household. Like he was all, but yeah, he wanted to put a bloody
Right, yeah.
in the
Bloody
trash
Dead
can.
babies are one thing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
that
Fucking animal.
So, and then after
Let's go steal a rock.
after I left, this is the craziest one, the thing that he got into after I left,
How long did you work there?
I only worked there for one summer.
Okay.
So not very long. And after I left, it turned from a Chinese food restaurant into a...
Now it's a restaurant. It was a deli. It was a hot station, and now it's a full-blown restaurant.
There's a standing area
So
now.
when I left, it turned into a Cold Stone Creamery knockoff called Marble Slab. Like
Shut
any type of fad thing, he was like, let's do that. For a while, it was
Yeah.
a barbecue place. Right now, it's you know what growlers are? Big jugs of beer.
And you can fill them there.
Yeah, so in Central Oregon and in Oregon and in a lot of places, microbrew is the thing. And in Central Oregon, there's tons of breweries. So they just have a whole wall of taps, and they got some laws changed in Oregon, actually, where you can go in and just fill up growlers. And even though it's not technically a bar, you can also still order like 1 pint and sit there and have a pint. But it's just a growler fill-up station. He's got like 60 beers on tap, and you just,
That's got to be crushing it, I would think.
Yeah.
So he's kept this business
guy's a
running all
genius,
these years
bro.
from thing to
Opened
thing,
up-
never lost.
He has another store in a town that's like 20 miles away. And my friend from high school, I think, is running that station still.
The Growler store.
Yeah.
You know why Oregon has so many micro everything and is so craft?
Well, I know one answer to that. What are you going to say?
Well, as far as booze goes, the liquor laws in Oregon is you buy the booze from the government. The government owns all the booze. Okay?
State?
The state. Yeah. So like if you want to buy Absolute vodka, you're not buying it from like when you own a bar and you order your booze, you get it at a cheaper rate than people in public get it. You know what I mean? Because you buy it bulk and you buy it from the distributors. But in Oregon, you're buying it all from the government or the state, so you're paying the same price you would pay if you bought a bottle off the shelf in a liquor store.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Oregon, you have to buy it at a liquor store. You can't buy it at a grocery store.
Right. It's all run through the state. So then people started making all their own stuff so they could cut out that middleman and make a better profit on their booze.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew
I
up.
hosted a bar show. We went to Portland, Oregon.
I watched it. I like that show. I'm really into alcohol.
Okay.
I like it. But I was going to say, I didn't know if you were going to say this. In Oregon, beer is very popular because it's the same. It's one of the best places to grow hops. So like Germany and Oregon have the same latitude and the same climate, basically. And those are the two places where hops grow the best. And so that's where all the beer is coming from.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like, people are having breweries everywhere, but they're still having to get their hops from the same location. So Portland and Bend, Oregon have tons of breweries. Like my town is probably 25,000 people. There's like 7 breweries.
Wow.
Just in that town. And then in Bend,
Damn.
there's like 30 breweries. And there's like 80,000 people.
Is Fat Tire from up there?
No, I think that's Colorado, maybe.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is too. I just remember when I was in Bend, we would ride bikes from my buddy's place into town, and everybody was on bikes. So I don't know why that fat tire thing just like popped.
Yeah, no, bikes are pretty popular in Oregon. Deschutes Brewery, that's probably the most popular out of Bend.
Deschutes.
Yeah, but so here, I'll get to it now. Finally, the craziest thing this guy.
Oh, we're not even there.
No. That's how the business changed a little bit. But one of the things that he got super into after I left was lawn chair ballooning. So he would attach big balloons to lawn chairs and float away.
He would float away?
Yeah. I've seen videos of people, like you put whatever, like 8 or 10, but whatever it takes on your chair, and it'll float you up, and you just
helium
go.
balloons, like the big balloons that they put on like car lots. And he bought like one of those nice reclinable chairs, and he did a lot of work and figured out the best way
That's
to
not.
do this.
I thought he was in just a lawn chair.
No, I mean it's a lawn chair, but it's like one of those like zero gravity lawn chairs.
Okay.
I'm assuming. And he tried it out 2 or 3 times until he finally was super, like, his goal was to float from Central Oregon out of the parking lot of the gas station.
How high?
Like right now he is dealing with legal trouble because he was in airspace he wasn't supposed to be in. Like he was as
How is he controlling where he's going?
He's not. He's not. So
does he have a seatbelt on or anything?
Yeah, and he would wear a parachute.
He would wear a parachute.
What good is a seatbelt?
I don't know why.
He would wear a parachute, and his goal was to float. He would float from the parking lot of the gas station for promotion, and then his goal was to go over the Blue Mountains into Idaho, which is a very long way. To drive it takes hours and hours and hours. So just based on the wind, he thought, this is where I will go. He tried it twice, bailed. The chair got really low. He jumped out of the chair took off without him, and he would have his wife follow him in a minivan as close as she could get on roads.
This poor lady had
with the walkie-talkie, and they would stay in touch and stuff. And he finally did it. He finally took off. Landed in Idaho.
He really did.
Yeah. And
how far is that?
Well,
are we talking like 100 miles?
More than that. Had to have been. Wow. I mean, I would have to.
But
look.
he just went with the wind and let it go where it took him, and he made it to Idaho.
Yeah. So in between, like over, like where Evel Knievel failed to jump the
Snake River.
Yeah. So like that's in between where we lived and where he ended up, because that's the border of Oregon.
He brags about all. Evel Knievel couldn't do it.
I did it in a lawn chair, man.
I started 200 miles before him. And
holy shit.
And then for a couple of weeks he was on Good Morning America. He was on when Jay Leno still had the Tonight Show.
What's his name?
His name.
Are we allowed to say his name? I mean, if he was on Good Morning America,
people can Google it.
Yeah, just look him up. Look up lawn chair ballooning, Oregon.
Is this a big thing that a lot of people are doing?
No, but I had, before he did this, it was somewhat of a wives' tale that you hear about, or you know what I mean. It was an urban legend, I guess. That's the
how was he keeping the balloons attached to the chair? Ropes?
Yeah, I guess
Fishing
so.
String.
And he had his method was he had a certain amount of balloons that were low enough to him that he could open and let a certain amount out to lower instead of just popping one at a time. Like, there's a story of a guy with a BB gun, and so he would just like let the air out slowly. And then he also had tanks of water underneath his chair that he could let water out to raise. So he had this whole system that he built himself.
Let me tell you something about this.
Dying of thirst, man, but I can't lose my tanks.
Let me tell you something. The Wright brothers, people probably thought they were crazy.
This guy's the wrong brothers. This motherfucker.
Where was he getting the tank? Was he selling helium tanks, like helium balloons and stuff, or what was?
No, I mean maybe at that point he was, but I remember because they, the news stations would come. I saw the video of it, and he had all these giant helium tanks getting loaded up. And then when he was on the Tonight Show, they actually set up his rig in the parking lot, and they took Jay Leno up in it. It was all like roped down, so you could only go up so high. And I know that their goal was this guy's going to be one of those guests that is so weird that he's funny. You know what I mean? Like a guy who kills on accident. But this guy like was trying to kill. So it was one of those guests where he tried to make a joke about how his dick was big and it fell flat.
What?
Like he was just like, how do you go to the bathroom? And he made some joke about how, you just, if you're well endowed, and the guy, everyone was just kind of like, ugh.
Kevin Eubanks was like, come on, bro.
Yep. Just right off of that.
Yeah, but more recently, he really,
So how long has he been doing this?
Well, this was just years. I don't think he's tried it since this was.
Since the fall?
Well, since he accomplished it.
Okay.
Once he accomplishes something, he moves on to whatever else he wants to try to accomplish. But he is currently, last time I checked, still having to deal with legal issues because he was in this airspace that he was not allowed to be in. So he's like getting in trouble.
Like what is the fucking penalty for that? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so once they saw the Tonight Show and this and heard the story, they're like, well, wait a minute, you violated a law. Why? Don't you have to be caught doing it? I mean...
I don't know. I mean, there's tons of pictures. I'll pull up a picture on my phone right now that make you kind of be like, oh, holy shit. That's legit, like so high up in the air.
That's what I'm saying. And he's just in a chair and balloons.
Yeah. Did he do promotion for like the gas station stuff? Like
so he had a banner underneath the chair that was all for the gas station.
Like just dropping like dim sum at people.
Can you read it? Doing the balloon in the water, the balloon. Can you see it yet? Dims.
So this is,
Try the Chinese!
Holy shit!
He had to learn how to parachute too. You know what I mean?
Is crazy, dude. There's like, I'm gonna guess there's like 70 balloons there.
So many fucking things.
Right
Here, I want to see this. That looks like it's a Photoshop.
I know.
Joke.
It seems.
It looks
fake.
like a poster for like reaching
Look
your
at the
goals.
mountains
Is what
in
it
the
looks
back.
like.
That doesn't even look real.
I know. Those are the mountains I grew up
Who
near.
took this picture?
Probably a fucking airplane or something.
This guy
Jesus fucking
is.
Christ.
I'm telling you, this guy's a pioneer right here.
I want to know, like, here's the other thing. You got to go up high enough that if you do fuck up, your parachute has time to open. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go up a few hundred feet. You pull that thing, you're just crashing to the ground with it.
It's so crazy.
I mean, I would pay. First of all, I would love to have the Tonight Show to be the host of the Tonight Show, but it would have been amazing to be. I would love to have interviewed him. Like, so I mean, what else have you done? He's like, I sold Chinese food out of a gas station, man. I got over these mountains. Like this guy, he's done it all. I started Marble Top. What
Marble
was it?
Slab. It may have been a franchise even. I just remember specifically like when Leno got up in the chair, like all he could say was, "This is stupid. I don't like this. Get me down. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done." Like totally shit on it.
Well, because he was probably nervous as hell.
Yeah. But so that was like my boss. That was my first boss.
Dude, I mean, what an amazing guy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Pretty interesting guy, yeah.
You should see the entrance to my beer cave.
Yeah, I bet it's still there. I had someone was driving through Bend, someone that lives in LA, stopped just to check out the place. And I'm pretty sure the beer cave's still there.
So, this was in Bend?
Yeah.
Then I got to ask my buddy Phil. You can tell me later on what the name of the place was.
Yeah.
Because I love this guy's style.
Yeah, interesting guy. He opened up a couple more stores. I think his son is the one that's running that current location now.
But it's not a gas station as well.
It is. No, the new store isn't. It's just a market. But this place is a gas station.
Right, okay.
In Bend.
Hilarious. I can't. You got when fans start hitting you up about that picture, you got to tweet that fucking thing out.
Well, and in Oregon, you can't pump your own gas. So, like the other thing is he had all these gas station attendants. He made them dress up kind of like they were from the 50s. They'd have to wear a weird kind of like cap, and they would wear a rag, and we had to wash. Well, I never did because I was in the deli.
Fucking mannequin ain't doing shit, man. Can I get somebody to pump this gas?
And my friend, because it was my friend's dad who owned it, so they would hire a lot of us. And my other friend that worked there, his secret was he would go into the walk-in cooler and like drink beer, and then when he was done with the beer, he would just drop the bottle and break it. And just act like, oh yeah, when they were moving these beers and they must have broke one. So like every day he would just drink in the cooler and just drop beer.
Every day, broken beer.
Yeah, it's always the same fucking beer too, man.
It's always like two.
It's always the one I like.